I'm kind of a DevOps guy, so I do lots of different things. So part of this is try to teach people that maybe don't know a lot about Git or version control. Follow some good practices there, because that's something you're going to do when you get in the workforce. And I have a daughter who's in computer science now, and that's my biggest criticism of computer science is they don't teach any of that stuff. Really, software engineering is probably the major you should be in, but computer science should teach you how to do things that you'll never do again. But you know, if you want to write a compiler or a new language, you could do that. You know, bubble sorts and stuff like that, which you'll never do again. But it's good to understand the basic. So these workshops, one of the things we wanted to do is take like the conference app, the Ionic app, and use that. But as we looked at it,
explain what that is too.
So they have a reference app. In fact, if you get into the docs, they'll do a demo, and version 4 they've converted it over. It's in GitHub, and it's a pretty vanilla app, but just kind of a generic conference app. Lists schedules, speakers, but a good way to demo, how Ionic works. So we thought, well, let's take that and then add to it. But as we got into it, it's still kind of big and probably a little bigger than maybe we wanted to start with. So we thought we'd just start with a few small workshops. Some of these will be really basic, but it'll help you get familiar with the tools and the basic structure. And then after we go through a few of these workshops, we'll do those. And then what we'd like to do is like the conference app, and maybe add some features to the conference app. And again, we're open to feedback on other things you'd like to learn, or some advanced, like some of the pain points is just deploying to the stores, right? Building it and making sure Apple accepts it, stuff like that. Those can be a big pain. Some of the Ionic features, like Ionic Pro, is a pretty cool, continuous integration type of environment. It's a paid service, but it's not that expensive. And it's a good way to go too. So hopefully we can.
And there's a video totally on the. Trying to think where I linked it from. I mean, it's not on my YouTube, but I've got an Ionic playlist, and Brett presented on Ionic Pro.
A few months ago. One of the meetups we did
6 months ago or something. So if you go look for that on YouTube, yeah.
So
what am I looking for?
Ionic Pro, Ionic Utah, Ionic Pro, or you can look for Todd Hale. It's in my YouTube.
Got it, thanks.
There should be a playlist for Ionic Utah.
So in this workshop, we'll do basic components, services and providers, which we won't go over today, routing, and like to tackle a few plugins. So what we'd like to do is like bring a phone and try it out. Android phones are a little easier to work, because you can just deploy them without really any security and stuff, and just copy them over to your phone. They work. Apple, you can do too. Yeah. No security. There's some benefits to no security. So all these workshops are available on GitHub, and try to follow a Git flow workflow. It's this link here from Atlassian describes some of the different ways people use Git, and a popular one is kind of coined from Git flow. It works on, there's a master branch, of course, there's a default branch, and then we create a develop branch, which you all develop from. And then what a lot of teams do is they'll just have feature branches or bug fixes off that development branch, and then you push into develop, and then from there you push that into master, and that's what you deploy from. And that Ionic Pro actually follows that model pretty exclusively. And so what I've created is some branches, so you can easily switch back and forth. Every workshop will have it'll have whatever example one we're doing with a start. And that'll be a vanilla Ionic code, kind of a hello world with setup. And then a final solution would be I'll keep adding to that, but it'll just have what is currently working. And so those are kind of the two branches. Star will probably just stay the same unless we get an update from Ionic, and then I'll update those. But that's how that will kind of work. This is that git flow in a graph. You see the master branches on the top, and you tag those for different releases, and then you have a development branch that, like teams I work on, we all work on a development branch, and then we use like a bug tracking tool like Jira, and we'll create like a ticket, and then it branches from there, and you work on it. And so here's an example, like start, it'll just stay down there, and final, the final one will push up into develop and then into master. So at some point, and there'll be multiple ones, so at some point on master you'll get different versions of these coming out, but it makes it easy to do a workshop and see a solution. So one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to clone the repo, so it's right there. And I think Todd told everyone to get installed, and then check out the development branch, and then we start the workshop. Like this first one, we're just going to do the button one. It's a pretty easy, it's a component one where we don't do any coding, it's all HTML. And then you could also look at the solution, but you can probably get to it just fine. And again, just ask any questions if we get stuck. So does everyone have Git installed? And I don't know, man, do you have it installed on your Surface?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll go into the workshop. And this is going to be just kind of hands-on and really test my eyes out here. So my old eyes have to wear my glasses. So hope that works well with the iPhone camera. Also, I'm an old Java developer, so my favorite IDE is IntelliJ, but I know Visual Studio is the one, and I will try to use more of that because that's more of the common one for Angular stuff. But I'm really old school too. I have to have a Vim plugin, and they don't have one in Visual Studio yet. That's very good. So, okay, so oh, and I think I actually have a presentation at least on. Where is it? Where's the button example? Oh, here we go. Okay, I didn't have time to do this with the other workshops right now, but we'll just go over a basic thing, a button example. You'll have this in every one of your apps. So button, of course, provides an easy way to navigate in the application. They're customizable with color, shapes, and size, and you use this element to enhance the attributes. One thing when you're doing these workshops, I would use the beta Ionic 4 docs. They're not as well done as the version 3, but I got into trouble by, I thought, well, I'll just use this and then go back to 3 and fill in with more of those examples. But the syntax isn't the same. You end up, messing up your app and spending hours trying to figure out why this button isn't displaying, and you realize you had the wrong element. They actually changed it. So
And it's like 95% the same.
it's 95.
But that 5%,
But it's that small element that
I kill you.
I did wrong. So some attributes would be like you specify the width with expand. You can have block or full. There's fill. Fill determines the background color of the button. Default is a solid background color, but clear would be a transparent background color with a kind of a flat button look. Outline would be transparent with a visible border, and then solid would be like a filled background. Size, of course, is kind of self-describing. What's the size of the button? And so we'll just take this as an example. If you can go, has everyone been able to clone that repo yet? Let me find the URL just so in case you didn't get it.
So I would love if you would grab that from me.
Yeah, Brett G. Palmer is the main thing that'll get you there.
Yeah, if you just look
His
Brett G.
username.
Palmer on GitHub.
Ionic component dash, what is the name?
It's Ionic-component-workshop. And if you get that, then let's see, I'll show you. Let me open it. Okay, you should see something like the directories that you'd have like action sheet example, badge example, button, card, list. Some of the,
Can you tell me again, how can I go, where in GitHub?
oh, okay. I'll tell you what, might be easier just to go to GitHub and show you instead of talk about it.
Okay.
I couldn't find it. Mine was just
Just over in Visual Studio Code.
So if you go to GitHub, Brett G. Palmer, you'll see Ionic Component Workshop.
I'm gonna zoom that in a
It's a
little
touch
bit.
screen, sorry.
And then click on the clone or download over there. Just, I want to show something. Just, there's a button that says open in desktop right there. If you have GitHub Desktop installed, it,
Yeah.
just click, boom, and it'll clone it for you.
Oh, here.
It'll ask you where you want to put and stuff, but
Perfect.
So just copy
But if you hit clone,
that.
and if you use the command line, you can, and I'm sorry, most of my examples will all be command line.
Thank you.
Now clone it into component workshop, which is right. So then Control KO.
So if you copy that,
So just
and then
file.
this is actually the command.
Control K, Control.
So you type, so if you bring up a console window,
Badge example app.
There you go. And then I got mailed on it.
and I don't know if this is the easiest way, I'd use the command line, but then you can use your IDE. I think it's good to learn the command line because the CLI essentially is the command line anyway.
npm install.
How many are on Windows and how many are on Macs?
Windows.
so just
Better question, how many Macs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 6.4.
So on Windows, you use the Git bash.
Yeah.
Okay,
npm install.
that makes it bearable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't like Windows, but that's all right.
Packages.
We all have to work in it. I work in it at work, but so if anyone's having problems, just raise your hand and maybe we'll go from there.
I think we got mine.
Okay, so has everyone been able to clone the repo Ionic Component Workshop?